Hey everybody, it's Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here to give you the Ecstatic Astrology forecast for Friday, May 13th through Friday, May 27th. And the reason I'm doing it this Friday to the 2 weeks from now is because we're about to have a lunar eclipse, and then 2 weeks from now we'll have a new moon. I'm just following the moon cycles, y'all. I tried the Monday thing, which is a moon day, but we're just going to go with the moon cycles. So we are coming upon a lunar eclipse full moon in Scorpio. And that happens on Sunday, May 15th, Central Time. It's exact around 10:30 p.m. But the moon moves into Scorpio before that. So we're going to start with today, Friday, May 13th. And today the moon is in Libra, and we are coming up on moon square Pluto, which moon movements are quick, right? So that's what Rick Levine says. He doesn't call it a mood, he calls it a moon. And I understand that because it will be very, very quick, very brief, but poignant. And so a moon square to Pluto is about empowerment, disempowerment, transformation, and especially with Libra and Capricorn, we're talking about relationships and rules and boundaries. And that's for Friday evening. It's also a trine to Saturn Friday evening, and that can help us actually establish what our boundaries are, especially in regards to the future. So when we go into Saturday, May 14th, the moon moves into Scorpio, and this is when we really start the eclipse moment. So you think Saturday morning, we're entering eclipse territory. Now, again, it won't be exact till Sunday night, but the moon will be in the sign of the eclipse by Saturday morning. And Scorpio is all about the depths. It's about, again, transformation, empowerment, disempowerment, perhaps sometimes obsession, control, deepest desires. And that's where we are going to have a very intense lunar eclipse. So Saturday morning, the moon moves into that area. So we start experiencing these themes already. Now, as the moon moves into Scorpio, we've also got, just as a lay of the land, Mars in Pisces conjoining Neptune. Mars and Neptune in Pisces can lead to escapism, lack of motivation, sometimes lack of clarity, lack of direction. However, it can also be very magical and intuitive, knowing exactly when to act and how to act, and maybe even acting on intuitive messages. Jupiter is in Aries. Jupiter is truth and expansion. In Aries, this is ourselves, our identity, self-preservation, willpower. So we're getting a good jolt from that. Now, I have heard a lot of people talk about burnout. No surprise to me with Jupiter and Aries. It's very high energy. Venus is in Aries. Venus is what we love and what we value. It is balance. It is one of the brightest planets in the sky. I hope you go look at it early in the morning. And with that plus Chiron, which is the wounded healer in Aries, this is all about being ourselves, self-acceptance, self-love. But a lot of times that can lead to us overdoing. We are making an impression, we're getting the things done. Maybe we've committed to a lot of things. So Mercury's retrograde in Gemini, again, another busy, busy thing. Mercury is how we think, how we make decisions. It's commerce. Retrogrades are a redoing, a rethinking, especially in Gemini. And I've been using this word, researching, a lot for Mercury retrograde in Gemini. And it is just now stationing retrograde. It's stationed on actually the 10th, I believe. But it's still at the same degree of Gemini that it was when it was stationed. So it's moving pretty slow right this moment. The sun and Uranus in Taurus. This brings in more of the lunar eclipse full moon. You can only have a lunar eclipse on a full moon themes because Taurus is where the sun is. It's the light that's shining or, incidentally being shadowed from the moon. And Taurus is about our values, our comfort, what is sensuous, what our senses experience, food. It is, you could say it's supply chain, it's economy, it's finances. So it's our values, right? Overarching theme values. The North Node at eclipse point is also there. And Uranus. Uranus is the great upheaval, change maker, revolutionary. So as you can see, there is quite a bit going on in the cosmos right now. And I could talk about more things, but I'm not going to throw in any more right now. We're going to move on as the moon in Scorpio Saturday is building to that lunar eclipse. It will be really not making many connections as far as I can tell until we get to Sunday. So Saturday seems to be this kind of void day. It's not, the moon is not void, of course, but it is not making many connections. And so we're left to just experience, I think, experience our deepest shadow, our deepest desires, what we obsess over, what we hold on to. I think that theme is going to come up as just this kind of elephant in the room Saturday. As we get into Sunday, well, now we're definitely in eclipse territory. So Sunday, we wake up, especially in the central US. It may be a different time for you depending on where you are, but we wake up with the moon opposing Uranus. Now, the new moon, the solar eclipse, was April 30th. That's what started this whole cycle, was conjunct Uranus. Uranus is, again, upheaval, revolution, liberation, and it's really lending itself to a change in values, even economics. I mean, the last time Uranus was in Taurus was the Great Depression, okay? So that's what we've got going for us with this lunar eclipse. We've got first this initial, oh yeah, I need to change things. I need to get out of Scorpio territory, fixed water, held emotion, fears, things we hold on to that are maybe no longer good for us. Okay. So we've got that starting early in the morning, this need to free ourselves from this stuck place. As we move on throughout the day, it's just building and building until we get to, I'm trying to see what it hits first. That's right. It hits the South Node first. This is around dinner time in the central US. So this may be a ping for you about karmic realities. You know, you think past life, you think letting go when we're thinking of the South Node. So what are we leaving behind? What are we letting go of? And a lunar eclipse is really us emotionally detaching from it, I think. I think it's really a reset button for our emotions, if you will. And so we start experiencing this at around dinner time. And then the moon will square Saturn, which kind of feels heavy. It will trine Mars, which feels angsty. So this is, I've heard this, you know, as gas breaks situation. I think that's on Chris Brennan's podcast. That was a conjunction, but I would say with the moon trine Mars and then square Saturn, it's like stop and go, push and pull. Mars and Neptune are really pushing us towards our dreams, maybe toward limitless bounds. We don't have limits with where Mars wants to go. That being said, it doesn't really, it can just do it from where it's sitting because, you know, Pisces does not lend itself to action necessarily. So Mars there can maybe be less assertive, but more inclined to follow its intuition. The square to Saturn, well, we have rules. We have to approach, you know, our structures from this future place. What do we want our future to look like? How do we want to innovate our structures? This is all wrapped up in this lunar eclipse, all of this. And then at 10:30, while it's square Saturn, while it's trine Mars and Neptune and Pisces, it will be an eclipse. And this is the reset button. So who would like to hear the rising sign, the eclipse through the rising signs? Here we go. We're going to do it. That's right. So we're going to start with Aries Rising. This is, I don't have the exact lunar eclipse pulled up, but this is where the moon will be in Scorpio. So this is what you're letting go of. And it could be contracts, commitments. It could be disempowering relationships, disempowering situations. The eighth house does to a certain extent rule loss. And I don't want that to make anyone live in fear because there are lots of things that sometimes are necessary to be lost. like a bad habit, right? Sure. Why not? So you can say that the South Node lunar eclipse in the eighth house is helping you emotionally detach from disempowering situations. Make room, as it were. For what? For new abundance, for freedom in your financial area, in your assets, self-worth, a higher sense of self-worth. Now, we've got the moon trine Mars and Neptune at the lunar eclipse in your 12th house. There is a spiritual component to this for you. It's almost as if you're able to let go fairly easily because of this Mars and Neptune in your 12th house of spirituality reflection. So that's a good thing for you to do on Sunday is stay in reflection, maybe take a little time to yourself. Now, that lunar eclipse is going to square Saturn in your 11th house of networking and goals. So you're doing work there. That feels like a responsibility. Like maybe you're responsible for large groups of people or for, maybe you have this large goal. Like I think of a Kickstarter goal that just looms over you. That's kind of an 11th house topic. It could be friend groups as well. So Saturn's been there basically having you shovel the dirt there for a while. This lunar eclipse is actually helped by this. So T-squares are inherently tense, but that requires action. And when we take action, that's a good thing. So it's this work in our goals area, in our friend groups, all the work we're putting in there is facilitated by the disempowering situations we're letting go of. Maybe we're having new groups of people come in. Maybe we're restructuring the friends we hang out with because one of those situations was disempowering, and it's all for a greater sense of self-worth. Okay. And that includes goals, by the way. So if there is a goal that, you need to, that helps you move away, like for instance, if I want to achieve this goal, I have to break this contract. That's a good way to look at this lunar eclipse for you, Aries rising. Taurus rising. This lunar eclipse in Scorpio is in your 7th house of relationships. So you're definitely possibly letting go of a relationship or empowering yourself through it. The other thing that you could be doing is experiencing fears there of abandonment or attachment issues. This is not like a super easy eclipse for Taurus rising because it does relate to other people. Now, Mars and Neptune are in your 11th house of large groups of people and goals. And so something in that area, you may be having to surrender to, okay, if this group of people really want me involved, I may just surrender to it. Saturn is in your 10th house of career. So there are career goals coming into focus here that you're having to work on. Let me pull up my notes because there's something I want to say for Mars and Neptune in this area. It could allow a goal to fade away or dissolve because that's what Mars and Neptune can do. There can be a dissolution of maybe some group of people as well. So whatever it is, maybe it's a new goal, a new dream you have, it is facilitating you letting go of an unhealthy relationship or unhealthy fears around relationship, and also inviting in a new identity. This is your 1st house of self, where Sun and Uranus and North Node are. This is how I am authentic, how I accept myself, how I look, how I am perceived. That's all 1st house identity. That is what you're really building. You're nurturing that area. So you may have to let go of some of relationship dynamics as well in order to facilitate that growth. Saturn's in your 10th house of career. And this is what I wanted to read as well, because I feel like when I was typing it out, it was really coming through clearly. And it's that you may feel pressure to achieve greater heights in your career. If you reframe this pressure as an invitation to work towards success in whatever way you define it, this will help you move away from those disempowering situations and towards greater self-acceptance and authenticity. So basically, instead of looking at these career goals or career responsibility or pressure to succeed, reframe it as an invitation to work towards success in the way you define it. Okay. Gemini rising. Let's move to you. So this eclipse season for you involves letting go of certain routines, habits, health, work situations. This is where the lunar eclipse is in Scorpio in your 6th house. And it is your daily life, what you do for work every day, how you work for money every day. So there are 2 parts in astrology of the chart that lend themselves to career. The 10th house is more like legacy, what you're known for, career, like your overarching theme of your career. The 6th house, this is how I make my money every day, co-workers. It's more of a daily situation. So there could be disempowering situations there in your health, in your habits, routine, work, that you need to move away from, let go of. And right now you're emotionally detaching from them. We won't physically detach from those, I don't think, until the solar eclipse in the fall. But this is definitely an emotional detachment to, I need to make room for something else in my life. What that thing is Taurus in your 12th house, which is spiritual connection, uh, meaning, but not like as man defines it. Dreams, it is reflection, it is, I mean, sort of going off to the ashram, like it is, I need spiritual connection in my life and I need to surrender to fate. It is abstract, it's sort of metaphysical. Okay, that's what you're developing. Maybe trust, faith, that's a good way to look at it. Saturn is square to it in your 9th house of belief. Now, this is more man's spirituality, okay? So this is like, what do I believe to be true about the world? This is my worldview, my philosophy. You're going through a restructuring there, maybe restructuring your beliefs in terms of philosophy, travel, higher education. You may be in school, you may be working towards this in some way, and it can be a big responsibility. But that's going to help clear up this work area for you. And interestingly, the trine to Mars and Neptune and Pisces is in your 10th house of career and legacy. So it's like you're trying to become very clear on what your dream is for your career. And you need to move away from the little things you do every day. You're changing your philosophies about life. You're going to have a higher sense of what meaning is for career. Okay. Do I need to look at my notes and make sure? Yeah, work towards developing your own inner compass, Gemini rising. And pursue deeper meaning, taking steps to expand your mind. It will help you move away from disempowering work or health situations. Okay, I think I covered that. Okay, Cancer rising. This lunar eclipse is in your 5th house of creativity, children, inner child, romance, and there is a certain emotional detachment that you are going to go through there. An emotional letting go, a dissolution. This may be from a creative project. This may be fears around children. This may be childhood trauma. This may be fears of having fun and really being seen for your creativity. Lots of different, an obsession with something creative, an obsession with, yeah, I think a creative baby is what I'm getting here. Because yes, it is the place of children. So if you have children in your life, you can identify with that. If you don't, it's definitely your inner child and it's definitely your creativity. The sun and Uranus in Taurus and North Node is developing your network, your goals. You are having a greater sense of self-worth with the goals you're setting. So you may not have ever set goals this big for yourself. And I think, to a certain extent, this could represent fear of failure. And maybe that's what you're dealing with through this lunar eclipse. Fear of being made, your little kid being made to feel small or something like that. Well, good news for you. Mars and Neptune is in your 9th house of higher education and philosophy, and you are able to connect with the deeper meaning of all of it. Saturn's in your 8th house of shared resources. You've been doing a lot of work on the business partnerships you form, the way you empower yourself in your finances, the way you share your own finances with others, debt, inheritance. These are all 8th house topics. And there's been a lot of work and responsibility here. That's actually helping you move into this future these goals, these bigger dreams for yourself. And by the way, Jupiter's in your 10th house of career. So it seems very outward for you, but you got to let go of the inward mess in the best way. I'm a Cancer rising too, so I can say that I got to let go of my inner mess, the fears that hold me back from sharing myself with the world. I think that's the way that you can look at it. And there may be disempowering situations throughout. I have experienced a disempowering situation myself over the last couple of weeks. And, the Saturn part is get up and do it, get up, dust off, and keep going and empower yourself. Saturn's in your 8th house. Okay, Leo rising. This lunar eclipse for you is in your 4th house of home and family. So something there is changing. You are letting go of something, perhaps being stuck in your home, feeling stuck in your home, emotional, traumatic childhood stuff. That's a 4th house topic, ancestral stuff, karmic past, past lives. This is all very true for Leo risings. So this could bring up some fear for you. The sun in Taurus and Uranus in the North Node there as well are in your 10th house of career and legacy and achievement and success and public reputation. And so you have to let go of this mired in your home existence. Now, it could be that that's not abstract enough. Holding on to emotional trauma, holding on to emotions that need to move, that need to be dealt with. It's very much a maybe go talk to a therapist situation for Leo risings. I mean, the 4th house can be the mud. You're stuck in the mud, right? And so you're trying to get out of it right now. So Mars and Neptune are in your 8th house of transformation, of deeper meaning, and they're going to trine this lunar eclipse and help you maybe spotlight what the thing is that you're dealing with. It's very shadow-like. It's very pushed down deep for Leo risings. So it's going to be maybe an emotional lunar eclipse for you. Saturn is in your 7th house, which is relationships. So you're doing work on relationships, whether that means making them more serious or separating or laying your boundaries down or buying a home together, et cetera, et cetera. You're doing a lot of work in relationships, and it could feel like a responsibility. But that relationship, that push towards work there, maybe relationships with coworkers, it doesn't just have to be romantic, can bring you out of the mud in a way and propel you forward towards greater achievement and success. Okay. Well, won't my mouse work? Hello, there it is. All right, I need my pointer. I have not been using my pointer. For Virgo risings, this lunar eclipse is in your 3rd house of communication and decision making and trusting yourself and thought processes and local community. So you're changing your relationship with these themes, maybe trying to get out of rigid thinking, maybe also not communicating. That could have been a way you have dealt with the world, is to hold your emotions in or not really speak about how you're feeling to people, and holding that all in. This is about communicating your truth and letting go of stuffing it down. That's what Scorpio does. Scorpio can be rigid. It can be fixed. You can hold on to things that are no longer good for you. So this could also be like anxiety, even with the 3rd house. It just is maybe even a relationship to your community. Something there is transforming. Now, the Sun, North Node, Uranus are in Taurus in your 9th house of higher education, truth, philosophy, travel. That's what you're developing. You are expanding your mind. But perhaps you have to let go of fear of trusting yourself with the lunar eclipse in the 3rd house. Now, Mars and Neptune are in your 7th house of relationships. And so something there is either coming into clearer focus and you're seeing the reason for it. You got motivation there. There's desire, there's passion, but it's also there's not much, you're not having to take much action. It's kind of like I said, it's that wanting it to happen, but just sort of waiting for the universe to do it for you. Okay. So there is like a little stagnation in your seventh house of relationships, but ultimately I think it's been very good for you there. Saturn is in your sixth house of work, like coworkers, the company you work for, what you do every day, routine, habits, health. You see where I'm going with this? You got to get up and do your steps, eat your vegetables, all those funny things. I'm not being totally serious, but you see where I'm going with this. You need a health routine. You need it is, I think work is responsibility for you right now. It is definitely pressure, but that pressure is ultimately going to make a diamond. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be in your own worldview, your philosophy, your ability to travel, your ability to get out and have a greater adventure in your life. Okay. Is there anything I want to say with my notes there for Virgo rising? Time to put your nose to the grindstone when it comes to routine, health, and work. Yeah. Supports letting go of a fixed way of thinking and therefore the expansion of your mind. All right. Libra rising. Oh, Libra rising. How's it going? You got the lunar eclipse in your second house of self-worth and finances and comfort and values. And so your values may be transforming. There may be fears of success here that you're trying to move away from. It is definitely your self-worth is transforming right now, but there is something that maybe you're too controlling over that you have to let go of. It could be the need for others as well. Scorpio in the second house can be an extreme need for sharing your life and sharing your resources with someone. Funny enough, the North Node, Sun, and Uranus are in your eighth house of shared resources in Taurus. But this is more like you being the benefactor instead of the supplier, if that makes any sense. So at this point, maybe it's time for you to be taken care of in a way, okay? And this is a lot about letting people in, I think, but also drawing boundaries that are empowering for yourself. So not a wall, not I don't want to let these people in, but oh, well, here are my rules if you're going to be in my life. That's very important. Saturn is in your fifth house of romance. That's no surprise to me. You're doing a lot of work there. Fun, joy. So fun, joy, and romance may have been hard to come by lately. Like kids is also a theme for the fifth house. I'm thinking of my Libra rising daughter who's going to start her first babysitting job. So like there's these little things in reality that match up to these. She's a Libra rising, Saturn's in her fifth, and her involvement with kids is taking it up a notch with her career. So that's why I throw out so many different possibilities, because there are, it could be that your kids are an extreme responsibility right now and it's tough. They're going through changes. It could be that you have nieces and nephews. It could be creative. All of these things are where you're doing your work. Inner child work, childhood trauma. What is fun? How do I have fun in this reality? That's sort of what you're going through right now. So Mars and Neptune are in your sixth house of health, daily life, routine, and work. So something there is coming into focus, but right now it just feels like you want it to happen and it's not clear. It will after the lunar eclipse, I think, come more into focus what this sixth house area is about to turn into. We just had a lot of transits there in your health, work, routine, daily life. So it may be that you pick up a health routine and that's going well. It may be that you dial in on a job you've wanted, but ultimately you have to let go of fears around abundance and disempowering self-worth, have a greater sense of self-worth. Let maybe someone care for you and also try to enjoy life. That's not an easy order, is it? Let me make sure my notes, I've got Libra rising all figured out. Yeah, you could be feeling creatively blocked. That's right. That's another good way to look at it. So work on your creative pursuits. It will lead to new opportunities for you. I'm glad I go back and read my notes. Working on creative pursuits, Libra rising. Good idea, writer Mandy Ray. Scorpio rising. This lunar eclipse is in your first house of self-acceptance, identity, authenticity. So your identity is going through a major transformation. You are developing relationships in your life. There's a lot of focus there. Your values have changed in relationships. So, you could find yourself with a completely different partner than you ever imagined you would be with, but you're totally into it. But now your identity is shifting a little. Saturn is in your fourth house of home and family. So there's a lot of work going in there. Maybe you bought a home, maybe you're building a family. It could be too that you've had to deal with family matters or property that is owned. That's all Saturn in the fourth house things. So there's a lot of work in this area of roots, but you're meant to put in the work there. It's going to facilitate this transformation in the way you're perceived by people. That's what the lunar eclipse is doing. Mars and Neptune are in your fifth house of children, creative pursuits, inner child, romance, fun, joy. And so you could have something going on in that area as well. That's probably going well, and you've got a lot of motivation there, but there may be some lack of clarity that I think this lunar eclipse facilitates, especially after Mars moves past Neptune. Sagittarius rising. Oh, Scorpio rising. I've got to remember to go back to my notes before I move on. All the work you've been doing on emotional security and firm foundation is paying off. I wanted to tell you that. All right, I got my notes up for Sag rising. I'm not going to forget this time. Okay, Sag rising. This lunar eclipse is in your 12th house of spirituality, reflection, retreat. You could be ready to move away from an isolated way of being. Like, okay, I've done all the spiritual work. I've isolated myself. I've done a lot of extracurricular, getting my mind outside of myself activities. 12th house can rule psychedelics, I will say. So, I mean, like in a literal way, you are moving away from this kind of spacey place. Maybe emotional as well with Scorpio there. There could be some secrets that you've dealt with in that area. You are moving more toward reality right now with this North Node in Taurus in the 6th house. So, you could find that you're committed and perhaps overly attached to alone time. That's Scorpio on the 12th house, that you zone out. You have a desire to get away, run away when uncomfortable emotions surface, and then stuff them more deep. You may also find that you're confused or afraid of your deepest desires. So the North Node in Taurus in your 6th house is emphasizing the need to bring it all back to reality. Developing healthy routines, habits, work life is essential. Oh, it's also supported. You had Venus and Jupiter conjoin there in your 4th house of home and family and emotions. And Mars and Neptune are very close to where Venus and Jupiter were conjoined during the solar eclipse. And so I feel like there is a sense of emotional security that you can draw on. And this is changing how you approach your daily life, your work, your habits, your health routines, maybe incorporating family, maybe having a new home. And so your routines have changed. And this helps you maybe actually be able to commune with reality and not feel like escaping. You're like bringing it back home. That's what it feels like. Now, Saturn is in your 3rd house of communication and decision making and short trips. Oh, what else? Siblings is another word for the 3rd house. Trusting yourself, I think, is your work. That's a good 3rd house transit keyword. Trust yourself, because you want to work to be able to make your own decisions, to be able to communicate who you truly are, to be able to it's very much day-to-day life. So this T-square is about, I need to organize my life, and I need to have my details taken care of, and I need to pay attention to my health, to my routines, to my everyday life. And that could be facilitated by this greater sense of emotional security that you've had going on with all these Pisces transits. Okay. Capricorn rising. This lunar eclipse is in your 11th house of networking, goals, large groups of people, friend groups. And so you could be moving away from something there. It could also be that you're moving away from a goal that you've, previously had, that you may have even been very committed and obsessed about, emotionally attached to. But this is the moment to say, that's no longer my goal. My values have changed. Taurus, 5th house. I have a new sense of self-worth when it comes to what my heart finds joy in. I'm really changing my values here. So what brings you joy, what strikes the chord with you is shifting. So your goals have to change if you think about it that way. This also has to do with children. You may be wanting a child or have children come into your life, or deal with your own inner child, or it could be childhood issues that come up. But with the North Node, this is more development and fertile ground. So it's like definitely creating something, whether it be a life or a place for a pet or whatever brings you joy. This is fertile ground. So painting, interior design, you can be creative when you're doing an Excel spreadsheet, but that is the name of the game. Be creative right now. And I think that is what is so supported for you. And because of that, because you're exploring this area of joy and fun and play, and romance is another word. So you're looking for romance in your life again. That is going to be facilitated by letting go of a goal that may be wasting your time. You're no longer even into it, but you made the commitment. Same thing with a friend group, right? Or a network that you belong to. Saturn is in your 2nd house of finances and assets. So you could be doing a lot of work there. You could be purchasing things. You could be like property. You could be getting your finances in order or deciding to start a savings account. Any number of those things could be the case. But that and your self-worth, you're working on it. You are building it. You're innovating that structure. Mars and Neptune are in your 3rd house of communication and trusting yourself and decision making. And so, with all this Pisces transit there, you could have had a hard time getting your head right. That's a good way to put it. Like, wow, is the mind just all sorts of confused with all those Pisces transits in your 3rd house and maybe people don't understand you. You may be having intuitive moments where your mind is picking up on a lot. You may have had times of lack of clarity and not knowing what decisions to make. All of that actually can result in, like, let's wipe the slate clear a little bit. And I think that's what this has all been for. You are looking for deeper spiritual meaning, and you are going to probably start to have to communicate that to people. You've definitely changed over the last few years. You had a very big identity shift in 2020, 2020, 19, 20, 21. And it's really starting to culminate right now. And I think that it's time for you to be able to communicate that to people. That being said, Saturn in your 2nd house is saying you have to have the self-worth to do so. So you're doing a lot of work there, but it's all going to help you move away from a goal or a network of people in order to be more creatively fulfilled and joyful in your life. Okay. Aquarius rising. This lunar eclipse is in your 10th house of career, achievement, public status, and reputation. So you're letting go of an attachment to a way you're seen by the world. Like I think of, I've always been a writer, and now I want to be a baker. And how is everyone going to take me if I just all of a sudden up and change careers? So there may be some fear around detaching from that. But what is being fertilized, that's the word I'm looking for Aquarius risings, is the home and family area. So think even property that you might buy, or you move in with your family, or you are starting a family, or you are buying a home or moving apartments. It could be so many different things. This area is fertile for you, and it all results in greater sense of emotional security. But it's also sort of quiet. It's less outward. You are, at least this year, letting go of being so outward and going into your home, family roots, and seeing what's there. Saturn is in your first house of identity and self. And so that is undergoing a massive change, and you're doing a lot of work on it. I will say, with Saturn in your first house, don't try to be something you're not. That's going to be your work, I think, is figuring out who you are and what you are authentically, especially with the South Node in your 10th house. It's easy to get wrapped up into, if I've always been outward, I need to continue to try to be outward. But if something is going on and you are feeling the sense that this outward persona is fading a little, it may be because you're supposed to go inward, and you're supposed to develop that part of yourself, in retreat, and figure out who you are. And I think that for Aquarius rising is, there's also the fact that your family could be a greater foundation for you right now. And you being who you are in your family is also undergoing some tension. Okay. So identity, self-acceptance is a big deal for Aquarius rising, but figuring out who you are authentically, that's your work. Mars and Neptune are in your second house. There's been a lot of lack of clarity there. But I think it will come into focus. I think you're supposed to just surrender and trust the universe for this area. That's Neptune, that's Pisces. As soon as, Mars leaves Neptune's grip, this will be just a few days after the lunar eclipse, we will have a little more like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do now. The dreams are very clear. Let me check my notes for Aquarius rising. Oh, I did say it's not the time to impulse buy with Mars and Neptune in your second house. That's a good piece of advice for Aquarius risings, because you could have rose-colored glasses when it comes to spending your money. So beware of that. That's the downside of Mars Neptune. The upside is, I have this idea that just came down on me that's going to make me some money. Okay. So yeah, it could easily be a rose-colored glasses situation. Saturn and Aquarius could have you feeling heavy responsibility to be something you're not. Saturn's invitation is to find the foundation of who you truly are and embody that without regard for ambition or power. The result will be a greater sense of emotional security and fulfillment. Well, I'm proud of myself. I remembered what I wrote pretty well. Okay, so Pisces rising. Whoop. Pisces, last but never least, in fact, magical. It is the final wrap-up sign of the zodiac. It is the 12th sign, and it represents liminal transitional spaces. So Pisces risings can find themselves in that space a lot with their identity. Transitional, always changing, maybe lack of clarity on who I am, maybe not being seen as much as I want to be seen. So Mars and Neptune are there. Before I talk about the lunar eclipse, you've had a lot go on in your first house, Pisces rising. Let's just get in here with this, okay? And it's all going to result in some very good things, but it requires trust. And this is not an easy message to give. No one, especially in astrology, doesn't want to go, just trust the universe, just trust things. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. But that's what I'm telling Pisces risings. The lunar eclipse is in your 9th house of philosophy, worldview, beliefs, narratives that you tell yourself. So you are moving away from something there, leaving a story behind that is no longer your story. It may not be fun to leave it behind. I mean, it's not fun to change your beliefs either. It's like, all of a sudden I'm a Buddhist and I was a Christian. I mean, that's a pretty good example of a belief change. Of course, it's religion, but if you can take that out and extrapolate what that might mean for you, where's your worldview, where you need to let go of that a little bit. Maybe even holding on to too much of, I know this to be true. Not right now, you don't. But you do need to trust yourself. Now, how do those two things work together? I think they do, because one is knowing, but one is relying on data processing and your ability to do that. So the North Node and Sun and Uranus are all in Taurus in the third house. The third house is how you think and how you communicate. It's less, I know this in my gut, and more, I deduce this with my thinking. So you are learning to trust your thought process, your decision-making process. And that is going to be a good thing for you, especially considering Saturn's in your 12th house. Saturn in the 12th is more of this lack of clarity. It's like you are going through a spiritual restructuring. Again, very abstract. Your whole, all mutable signs are having this abstract eclipse cycle, which is like, maybe not all mutable. Is it all water? Whatever it is. Pisces rising definitely is like going through a spiritual shift. Sometimes it can be like when your phone downloads a new program and reinstalls it overnight and you didn't even know it was going to. That's what Saturn in the 12th, it seems like. So imagine you're a computer, and you're downloading a new program. There's not really much you can do about it, but it's still your work, if that makes any sense. It's just sort of happening in the background. That is also going to be part of what leads you away from this belief, this inner knowing that your worldview is changing. It's Saturn in the 12th. You're having this spiritual sort of shift that maybe awakens you. And then you have to go back into your mind, into your brain, into your thought process. Is this going to work for me? What do I value? That's what you're considering. Of course, Mars and Neptune in your first house, that's that identity change. And I think that's going to reflect probably the philosophy shift you're undergoing. Okay, that's it for the rising signs. Sure is. Let me go forward a little bit in time. Monday the 17th, I'm sorry, Tuesday the 17th, no, Monday the 16th, my goodness. The moon's still in Scorpio, and I'm going to put it on Aries rising here. Forgive me, I like to show the chart. I hope that is, gonna, what do they call it? Maybe my engagement will stay the same. I don't know. So anyway, May 15th, Sunday, we have the lunar eclipse. Monday, we go into the new week with the moon still in Scorpio, but early morning moving into Sagittarius is pretty optimistic. Love it because it's a trine to Jupiter. It lends itself to expansiveness. And then, the moon will also oppose Mercury retrograde. So at the same time, it's like we're seeking the truth on Monday, especially after such a deep and transformative lunar eclipse. Mars is getting closer to its exact conjunction with Neptune. So things start to get even more spacey. I think the lunar eclipse really set off the spacey, maybe freaky feeling. I mean, heck, I'm recording this on Friday the 13th, right? It's like, is it Halloween in the middle of May? Maybe, I don't know. But the point is, we are in like carnival land, creepy land a little bit. And it just continues through the lunar eclipse, and you may have dreams that are crazy. That's going to be just about every night through the beginning of this week and even further into that. Every time something touches this Mars and Neptune is going to be a thing as well. So the other thing is Venus is in Aries. So as the moon moves through Sagittarius, it will also trine Venus. So these 2 days are pretty good. The only caveat, and I didn't say this about the lunar eclipse because there's just so much going on. Oh my God, y'all. Like at the lunar eclipse, Venus and Chiron. Let's see, actually, let's go right now. Venus is approaching Chiron. This is a sensitive spot. It's exact Saturday. So that, that could be looked at as a day of healing. But it's also going to be after the lunar eclipse on Monday and then Tuesday, the moon in Sag. When the moon trines Chiron, it will then trine Venus right after on Tuesday. So we wake up with this maybe sense we need to do some healing or take a look at a place in us that's very sensitive. But right after that, we get this nice salve of Venus. And Venus is in Aries, which is like self-preservation. So, we're really thinking about how can we accept ourselves, love ourselves on this day. And it's an optimistic feeling, I think. At the same time, Tuesday, Mars and Neptune are at the same degree. They are coming together. So all in all, this seems like a pretty magical day. I do like that. It seems pretty mystical, expansive, optimistic. The only caveat is maybe a little lack of action or clarity with Mars there and Neptune. And then let's see, Wednesday, the moon moves into Capricorn. By the way, dreams are going to be crazy Tuesday night into Wednesday. Moon squares Neptune and Mars. When the moon moves into Capricorn, it's going to square Jupiter immediately. This is like, God, what did I say in my notes? I have to look because there was something to this. It's like a kick in the pants. That's what it's like. The moon in Capricorn, is kind of cold. Its home sign is Cancer in the opposite sign. So the moon in Capricorn is like, we got to get things done and structure and responsibility. Square to Jupiter in Aries, which just wants to go and get things done. It's like there is this tension between getting things done and following the rules. And am I impulsive? Am I not? So Wednesday, we wake up with this take action on our goals sort of situation. Mars has passed Neptune on Wednesday, even more of a kick in the pants. It's like Mars is released, actually they're still at the same degree, but they're at the same degree for a minute, although it's still past it. So I think Wednesday, things do begin to come into focus, into clarity. Thursday, moon's still in Capricorn. It's going to make a bunch of connections. The first one, it trines Uranus, which is upheaval, surprise. You may wake up to some global economy news. Who knows? It's a shift for sure. A brief one. It's the moon. It never, it doesn't last when it's the moon. It's like an hour's worth. It will also square Venus and Chiron on Thursday, May 19th. So, and again, another sensitive spot with Chiron. It's going to be sometime around midday or early morning more like it. We got the square to Chiron and the trine to Uranus at the same time. So, that, Thursday morning could be a little uncomfortable and surprising. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's just how that could come out. Luckily, as we get towards the evening, the sun trines Pluto, which is empowerment, especially in regards to our self-worth and abundance. Pluto in Capricorn is retrograde. So we're rethinking how to structure some things here, how to empower ourselves in terms of our structures, what we allow to have authority over us. So I think that is actually a nice trine, pretty deep. I mean, Pluto is just, no matter how you slice it, is transformative. But the moon will also sextile Mars and Neptune in Pisces, which is spiritual connection. So Thursday is a very mixed bag, the 19th. It's like, at first it could be very surprising, and then it could be very empowering and spiritual. So I would give the surprising the morning and the powerful spiritual part in the evening. Okay, and dreams will probably be crazy. The moon moves into Aquarius May 20th, which is Friday. And we've got also Mercury and Jupiter in sextile. I think that's really nice. A sextile between Mercury and Jupiter. Our minds are firing on all cylinders. This is really great. Now it is retrograde, right? So it expands the retrogradiness. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. But sextiles are opportunistic. They have opportunity in them. So if you look at it that way, maybe there's an idea, maybe there is research that we've been doing, and Jupiter shines a light on it. And it's like, this is the piece of the puzzle that you needed. So I think that's going to be a really nice day for at least, I hope it doesn't expand the very fear-mongery retrograde things. There is another cool thing about this Friday morning, though, and it's that the moon's in Aquarius, and it's going to trine Mercury and sextile Jupiter. So it's making this thing called a minor grand trine. That's very flowing, but you'll hear people talk about supportive aspects like this, trines and sextiles, as a little bit of a circuit that, it won't let any energy out. So it's almost like it keeps building and building. So it's very busy, very detached, very air energy, mental. So your minds are going to be moving. It could be very social Friday the 20th. There's just a lot going on. I think that's going to color most of the day on Friday the 20th. Yeah, because there's no other real aspects it makes. So Saturday the 21st, the moon's still in Aquarius, and it will begin to sextile Chiron and square Uranus. And this is around 10 a.m. in the central US. So this just highlights oh my gosh. Again, it's healing. It can be quite sensitive, but that's the good part. The square is what's surprising, is shifting. So we're reminded that we can't get too far out into the future, too far out into the bird's eye view. Uranus and Taurus is like, we are trying to innovate our very real material values here. So I need you to come back down to earth a little bit. So there is some tension there on Saturday, between wanting to break free and wanting to, just go for these future plans and goals. And then, of course, the sextile to Chiron, the wounded healer, and Aries, which is like, you have to accept yourself. You have to love yourself if you're ever going to have these future goals met, It moves on in the evening to trine the nodes. Square the nodes. And that's another little tense aspect that has a lot to do with the eclipses. So I would refer to the eclipse rising sign forecast for this specific Saturday moment. It's at night, but usually these things can be a ping of a mood, a tense moment. The other thing we got going on Saturday is it's a Mercury cazimi. And that means Mercury is conjunct the sun. It's in the heart of, that's what cazimi means, in the heart of the sun. This is always looked at as a moment of aha. It's a message from the king, an audience with the king. That's what they say. They being the powers that be or whatever. So this is also loosely sextile to Jupiter. I really love this. So while we have some maybe uncomfortable shift moments on this Saturday, we also have a moment of, this is the thing. This is what I need to research. This is what I need to rethink. This is what I need to be focusing on. As we move into Sunday, we wake up, the moon is just past Saturn. I think central US people can be thankful they slept through that, I will say. Yeah, and that also means it's sextile to Venus at the same time that it's square to the nodes. Okay, so like I said, that might be a brief tense moment. We have a little help. It's sextile to Venus, which is balance. And especially in Aries, this is very much getting your own needs met, I feel like, or being yourself in relationships, or self-love, acceptance. So that's pretty nice. I think that we have a sextile to Chiron and then to Venus that day. I like it when there's a day that there's a couple of good transits and a couple of more tense transits. It really just kind of balances the whole thing out. Also, it's matters what's in your chart too. So Sunday, we've got the moon moving into Pisces. And we've also got the sun in Gemini by now. I don't know if I announced that, but that's a big shift. That's also the Mercury Cazimi heralds that sun in Gemini. So things even get busier and more buzzier as the sun moves into Gemini. We're looking at Sunday, May 22nd. The moon moves into Pisces and squares Mercury. This could be a spacey moment, a retrograde moment. Oops, I forgot this thing, blah, blah, blah. I find that it's also the third quarter square of the moon. So this will hook into the eclipse cycle a little bit, because this is how we integrate all of the change, all of the information from these eclipses. May 22nd is that last integration date. And it's very much a spiritual, mental one. It's not so much the themes of the eclipse as it is. Now it's time to spiritually and mentally integrate this. So Sunday around noon could be a little bit of a moment. I hope you like my descriptive noises, because that's what you're getting today. It's not really doing much aspect wise as it moves through. So it's probably going to be a spacey kind of Monday, dreamy. Monday, the 23rd, the moon's still in Pisces, and it will sextile Uranus, which is shift, change. This is definitely, I like to look at the Pisces Taurus stuff as bringing your dreams into reality. So this is one of those days where reality and dreams kind of play off of each other. The other thing is Mars moves to the 29th degree of Pisces. This is the last anaretic degree of crisis. And at that moment, it sextiles Mercury in Taurus. Again, bringing dreams into reality. But our mind is rethinking how to do that. Our mind is like, okay, wait a minute. What do we say our values were here? And Mars and Pisces, like, this is our values. So I think May 23rd is actually really good. I know the anaretic degree is the degree of crisis, but crisis also, you could say action. You could say wrapping up, if you will. So let's see what else. Anything else? Venus is coming into a sextile with Saturn around the same time. It's not exact until Tuesday the 23rd. However, I would say Tuesday the 24th. I'd say Monday the 23rd is still pretty, it's applying, it's building, we'll say that. So I really love Venus sextile Saturn, because we are able to get stuff done. This looks like a very productive day. The only thing that's holding us back maybe from the productivity is Mars at 29 degrees of Pisces. That really makes the escapism almost unbearable that day, especially with the moon there. It's a mixed bag, like, how do you take action? Maybe you take action by meditating, right? Either way, we're getting stuff done on this day, I think. Okay, so Tuesday, Moon, Mars, Moon, Neptune. Yeah, Tuesday's pretty spacey. Sextile Mercury. I would definitely pay attention to synchronicity and intuition on this day. Again, check on the people that, may have addiction or self-harm tendencies, because Pisces, Neptune, Mars, Moon can be a recipe for that. It's kind of a fever pitch, I will say that. Pisces is a very soft energy, and so you get people who are almost comforted by escaping in some way, however that might be addiction. I mean, it can be mental illness as well. That's not to say, I have a Pisces moon, that's not to say any Pisces placement is mentally ill. It just can represent that. It can represent lack of clarity and confusion. It can represent rose-colored glasses. It can represent intuition and synchronicity. So all of these things are at the high energy level. Not to mention, I didn't even mention the sun sextile Jupiter. Gosh, there's just so much happening. Monday, the sun is sextile Jupiter. Wow. Sun sextile Jupiter, Mars sextile Mercury, Saturn sextile Venus, there's a lot of opportunity May 23rd and 24th. Okay. I would, yeah, like if you have an idea, write it down. Especially around 3 p.m. in the central US, like super creative, super intuitive, super connected to the muses, sextile Mercury, which is our mind. We're definitely able to bring these ideas into reality. Woo, very good day, very good day. Okay, so Tuesday, May 24th, moon moves into Aries, hits Jupiter, very expansive, but Mars moves into Aries just after the moon. And then the war drums begin. Okay, that was a little dramatic. But Mars is the warrior planet, and it moves into its home sign of Aries with the moon, which is emotions, with Jupiter, which is expansion and truth. And I would watch from the 24th through like the new moon. So the 24th through the 29th. I would watch for people to have a temper, to pop off, as it were, because that is a day that could happen. It, like, I also would not on the 28th, 26th, I would not go skydiving. I'm not saying to be in fear of this. I'm saying to be smart and don't pass people going 100 on the interstate or something like that. Like, this is just a time to temper your impulsivity, okay? Because it is an impulsive couple of days. It is high energy. It is busy. It is burnout. Take care of yourself. That's what this looks like. So we're talking May 24th, May 25th, the moon's still there. The moon hits Chiron on May 25th, which is, again, a sensitive spot, maybe, healing as well. But I always look for that to be emotional, perhaps. You may have an emotional moment. Let's see here. What is it doing? It feels like it stays in Aries forever, honestly. So 24th, 25th, 26th. On the 26th, which is Thursday, the moon hits Venus. That's a very good day. I would say any issues that, are arising from Mars and Jupiter, maybe Moon, Venus can temper those. Once the moon moves out into Taurus, we're looking at the 27th. This Venus is at the 29th degree of Aries. And then on the 28th is probably the top of the days for Jupiter and Mars to create inflammation and frustration and conflagration and fires. I'm not even joking. Aries is a fire sign. We're already seeing fires with Jupiter and Aries, across the nation. Do I think Jupiter causes fires in Aries? No. Do I think that Jupiter and Aries reflects that on Earth? Perhaps. It works somehow. I don't know how, but Mars is a fire planet in a fire sign with Jupiter, which is expansion. And here you go. You got a lot of wildfires. So things are hot. And if you look at it on our Earth, you think the Earth's burning. We're not burning. We are hot. We are burning out. That's already happening. So especially around these days, self-care, lots of water. Why not? It's nice that Venus moves into Taurus. Venus rules Taurus, and we can maybe count on our senses and feelings of comfort. But we have the moon hitting the eclipse points on Saturday, May 28th, and then moving into new moon territory. So it feels sort of karmic. Like I said, I do not fearmonger. That is not my thing. But I do want to tell you that the energy is high, for lack of a better way to say it. Emotions, maybe. Egos, definitely. Anger, sure. Inflammation in your body, perhaps. Like, there's lots of different ways you could look at this Mars and Jupiter. It's been on my radar for a while. So I want you to be aware of it. I'll try to come back and do the new moon in Gemini video May 26th. When is Mars like not in Aries? May 23rd, May 25th. I'll do it May 25th. Yeah, so I'll be back Wednesday, May 25th with another video about the new moon in Gemini. I have written at least up until Saturday, May 21st, a newsletter. So I'll send that out with this video. I have all the rising signs written out for you. That will be on my website. I really appreciate you tuning into this ecstatic astrology forecast. And I hope that you have an easy lunar eclipse, that you're able to let go of things that, no longer serve you. And I hope that you are able to invite in a new sense. You're making room. So invite in a new sense of abundance and self-worth. And if you have to let go of anything, it's just making room. Always available to book a session with me. I've redesigned my website like 3 times recently. So go ahead and click ecstaticastrology.com and click book a consultation if you'd like to have a session with me. As always, like, share, and subscribe for my extremely nerdy astrology videos for astrology lovers. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you soon.